If you've been eating healthy, counting calories, even walking every day, and the scale still barely moves, there's a very real chance the problem isn't your willpower or your metabolism. It's the order in which you eat your food. That sounds almost too simple, right? But this is exactly what metabolic doctors like Dr. Jason Fung keep repeating. You don't gain fat because you're weak. You gain fat because your hormones, especially insulin, are being triggered at the wrong time. And insulin is boss. It tells your body, store this, don't burn it. If insulin is high, you're in storage mode. If insulin is lower, you're in burning mode. So the real game is not eat less. The real game is keep insulin calm. Think about it. Nothing in your body happens without hormones. You didn't grow taller because you decided to. Your growth hormones said, now we grow. Same with puberty, same with thyroid, same with appetite. Yet when it comes to fat loss, people suddenly forget hormones and shout, calories. Dr. Fung's point is simple. Calories matter, but hormones decide what your body does with those calories. And the loudest hormone in the fat gain conversation is insulin. What pushes insulin up the fastest? Fast carbs. Bread first, juice first, dessert first, even healthy carbs first. And when that happens over and over again, your body slowly becomes insulin resistant, meaning there's plenty of insulin, plenty of glucose, but the cells are like, nah, we're full. So the pancreas pumps out even more insulin to force the sugar in. High glucose plus high insulin equals perfect situation for fat storage, especially around the belly. Now, here's the part almost nobody tells people who are struggling. You can lower the insulin impact of the exact same meal without changing what you eat, just by changing the order. Same food, same plate, same calories, different sequence, different hormonal response. That's not theory. That's exactly what researchers saw when they took people with type 2 diabetes, gave them the same meal 2 ways, and just switched which part came first. When they ate the bread first, bread plus juice, and protein and veg later, blood glucose spiked high and fast. When they ate protein, fat, and vegetables first, and the carbs last, boom, peak glucose went down by more than 50%, and insulin exposure over time went down by almost the same amount. That's massive for just moving food around on the plate. Why does this happen? Your digestion is slower than you think. When you start with protein, fat, and fiber, say chicken plus salad with olive oil, or fish plus veggies, or eggs plus spinach, those foods literally slow the emptying of the stomach. They act like a traffic light in your gut. Then, when the carbs arrive later, rice, bread, fruit, potatoes, they hit a system that's already busy. So instead of rushing into the blood and forcing your body to release a big wave of insulin, they trickle in. Trickles are easy on insulin. Floods are not. On top of that, protein and fiber trigger GLP-1 and other satiety signals, the same family of hormones the expensive injections are trying to mimic. So you're fuller sooner and less interested in finishing the whole basket of bread or going back for sweets. That's the sneaky benefit. When you eat smart, you often end up eating less without trying. And there's another layer, acids and fats. Traditional food cultures weren't dumb. Think Mediterranean bread dipped in olive oil and vinegar, rice with fermented foods, potatoes with sour cream or yogurt. When you add an acid, like vinegar, yogurt, kefir, even lemon, and a fat, like olive oil, butter, avocado, to your carbs, you lower the glycemic impact of the meal. In one example, eating bread alone gave a high blood sugar response. Eating the same bread with olive oil dropped that response by about a third. Why? Acids slow down amylase, the enzyme in your saliva that starts breaking down starch right in your mouth, and fats slow gastric emptying. Translation: carbs enter the blood slower. Insulin rises slower, less fat storage. You didn't diet, you didn't fast, you just combined food intelligently. So what does an actual meal look like with this method? It's not complicated. You sit down, you start with vegetables plus protein plus fat, a salad with olive oil and vinegar, a bowl of veggies with chicken, even just eggs and some greens if it's breakfast. You eat that first, and you give it a few minutes to start doing its job. Then, and only then, you have your rice, your bread, your fruit, your pasta. If you want to be extra strategic, wait 5 to 10 minutes like they did in the study. That little pause gives your gut time to signal, we're working, and insulin won't have to scream.
And now, add the final piece that Dr. Fung pushes all the time because it's so easy, almost anyone can do it. Walk after you eat. Not a 10K run, not 45 minutes on a bike. Just 10 to 20 minutes of walking right after the meal. Here's why this is genius. After you eat, glucose is floating around in your blood. If you sit down on the couch, you tell your body, we're not using this right now, so the body has to store it, which requires more insulin. If you walk, your muscles are like sponges. They literally pull glucose out of the blood without needing as much insulin. The same meal that would have spiked you now barely nudges you. In one comparison, walking right after the meal dropped blood sugar way more than walking before the meal. Timing matters, food order matters, movement timing matters. And none of this requires you to be perfect. The cool side effect of eating this way is you accidentally drift toward a lower carb pattern without forcing it. Because you start with protein and veg, you feel fuller faster. Because when your blood sugar stays stable, you don't get the 3 p.m. crash that sends you hunting for sugar. Because your insulin stays lower across the day, your body actually has time to tap into stored fat between meals. That's the part people miss. Fat loss isn't just burn more. It's let insulin fall often enough in long enough that your body is allowed to burn. Constant snacking, constant liquid calories, constant carbs first, that's what keeps insulin hovering high and turns your body into a storage machine. So if this is you, you're over 35, maybe over 45, you're not trying to be an athlete, you just want your waist smaller and your energy steady. Start with this exact sequence today. Every meal, veg plus protein plus fat, first. Add acid to carb meals, vinegar, lemon, yogurt, kefir, olive oil. Walk 10 to 20 minutes right after eating, especially lunch and dinner. That's it. Same food, same kitchen, different biology. Over a few weeks, you should notice less bloating after carbs, fewer sugar crashes, easier fasting windows, and slowly, because this is hormonal, not hype, a shift in your waist. If this made sense and you want more simple, science-backed fixes like this, hit like so the video gets pushed out to more people who need it, drop a comment with which meal is hardest for you to control, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and subscribe because we're going to keep breaking down these "why did nobody tell me this earlier" tricks.